Hey everybody, Kelli here. So today for you should be the first Saturday in April. But for me, it's February 18th, 2024, and it's extremely windy outside. That's why I'm looking that way, because the wind is blowing on the windows really bad. Hopefully it's not picking up on the video. I may have to redo this if it is. But today's project is... it's getting worse. Okay, today's project is actually going to be a gift. That's why I'm filming it so far in advance and not going to be able to air it until April. So it's going to be a gift for my mom and dad's anniversary. And last fall, we actually took a trip down to the Smoky, well, down, I say down. We're in northern Missouri, and we took a trip over to the Smoky Mountains, to Gatlinburg area. And while we were there, I had stopped at a quilt shop and actually found, well, so the first one I'm going to show you was one that I had in my stash. And then I found two other panels. And so I really thought I need to put this together for a quilt for mom and dad for Christmas. Well, that didn't quite happen. So I'm trying to get it done for their anniversary. But the panel that I had in my stash, I think is this first one here. And I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get back far enough for you to be able to see the whole thing. But it's a bear, black bear. Yeah, black bear. And so I've had that one in my stash. But when we were down there on vacation, I actually found these two panels as well. And so this one is of 4 images from the Great Smoky Mountains, and one of them is actually that bear. Down here, let's see, was it down in the bottom corner? Nope, it was in the top corner right there. So you should be able to see that one. And then the top corner there, and let me go ahead and lift it up. Hopefully see both of those images then. And so I've got those 4, well, that panel with the 4 images. I'm going to actually cut it into 4 for my project here. And then this is the one that I actually like the best, with the deer down at the bottom. Let me stop moving it for a minute, and then you get maybe a better image there. So I really like that one. And, well, I like them all, but I really like the deer one. And so when I got those, I thought, I think I have some stuff in my stash that will actually go with them to be able to put this as the centerpiece, and then the 4 blocks on the corners. And so I worked up a couple of different patterns in EQ8, and I'm still not 100% sure which one I'm going to do. I'm probably going to end up going with the scrappy one, but I just want to show you real quick before we get started, or before I get started on making the quilt, the other reason that I went ahead and got these panels. So I have all of this in my stash. So now some of this bundle was really just, okay, so I should probably start out with the beginning bundle. So the beginning bundle was from a scrap bag. So yeah, scrap bag. And most of this is actually from Sweetwater Fabrics. Yeah, or just Sweetwater, I think it is. And what's it called? It's called Timber by Sweetwater. So the fabric line is Timber. And so when I got most of this in the scrap bag, I had some other items that actually I thought would blend with it. If this was all I got, then these items could maybe get thrown in there and blend with it. Well, so this one right here is actually a gingerbread fabric. And so after I got this, I had got a scrappy bundle of mostly gingerbread fabrics, so I could just kind of set that with this. But what I'm going to do now is actually take this out and take out these couple of pieces here and put them in a scrappy bundle to make something else later. But I believe the rest of this should all be from the timber line from Sweetwater. And so that was all from a scrappy bundle. This one right here was from a different scrappy bundle. But it's the same, it's from the same line. I didn't even know it at the time, but it's from the same line. And so I thought it blended well, and then I'm suddenly looking at it and going, that actually is the same thing, just it was in two different bags. So before I had even got this, I had actually purchased one of the little mini charm packs from Fat Quarter Shop. It was a sale one, so I went ahead and got one just to see if I really like the fabric. I don't do a whole lot with mini charms, but they are good when you don't necessarily know if you like the fabric, and you know, when they're on sale for like $2, go ahead and get one, and then that way you kind of know that you like it or not. And also you could just, you know, you could use it in a scrappy quilt. You could make a little wall hanging, use it on the back, whatever. I just don't usually buy too many of them because it's a lot of sewing when you could just get like a jelly roll and sew the 2.5-inch strips all the way to get like vroom, 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 and then do the cutting. And this is a lot of sewing, but they're still nice. So I actually got 2 of them because they were on sale. Well, anyhow, then when I got all this in a scrap bag, I had also seen the charm packs on sale, so I got one of those. But then I almost have too much now. So, but it should be really easy for me to take these panels, and I'm either going to decide to do something with all the bigger pieces in this bundle, because I did design a couple of patterns that maybe use up some of the bigger pieces, and or I will come up with just using the center panel, the 4 corners panels, and then doing scrappy patchwork around them. So that's a very, very long introduction to this, and I may try to edit it a little bit, but anyhow, I just wanted to come on and say why I'm saying that it's February and I'm not going to be able to post this until March, or till April, actually. Yeah, so these colors aren't an exact match, but I think it's going to be pretty good. I may have to pick through the charm pack a little bit, but I think most of them are going to be similar enough anyhow. So I was considering leaving some of the black on these 4 panels when I cut them apart, but here in the center there's only a 1/2 inch, and in fact I'm not sure there is a half. Like, isn't that funny how that looks a little bit wider than that portion? Anyhow, if I cut it down and left the black on, I could get 1/4 inch on each panel. But then what might happen is when I go to sew my 1/4 inch seam, well, I have a little bit of the black showing, and so it just becomes easier just to use the cream outline here as my cutting line and just cut them out with just the cream border. Could use it on the sides maybe, but that would probably look weird too, so I'm just going to go with the cream border. Does anyone else ever buy panels and then when you're cutting them think, why do I buy panels? They are so hard to cut. It's like they just get so out of whack so easily. I think I did okay. I think I've got it. Yeah, I think I've got it good, but I missed a little bit of the black there. which shouldn't matter. I hope that I don't, go to sew the seam and then realize that I'm like a hair's length too long. It really should be fine. Okay, anyhow, I just am wondering. Sometimes this wasn't too bad, but some of them are just so out of whack. Well, I've completed my top, bottom, and side patchwork pieces. My top and bottom are the same exact width as the panel, so that worked out well. I did the math on it. I knew that was going to work. I knew that the side pieces were going to be an inch too long, but I thought I'll just cut it, or 2 inches too long, and I thought I'd just cut an inch off the top and an inch off the bottom. And so that worked out really nice. And I also knew that the width of the 5-inch scraps when sewn together would not equal the length and width of the 4 small panels. So I started to kind of come up with a plan, and now I'm not real sure about it. So I think my plan was originally to cut strips off of this piece here. And so that particular piece is a long enough strip that I can add to the top and the bottom patchworks so that they match up with the panel. But if I cut it on the side, I'd have to use this fabric here, and I would have to actually piece it because of the direction that it runs. It's not wide enough. It's not wide enough to cut it lengthwise like this, or it's not long enough to cut it lengthwise and have the fishies run in the right direction. And so I would have to add in a couple of pieces to do the side strips. So I'm thinking maybe I'll do that, but I also have these 2.5-inch squares here. And so I've been considering whether to do those all the way around, or whether to do a top and bottom strip out of this and then use the 2.5-inch squares, or whether I should do a top and bottom strip out of this, go ahead and cut this lengthwise for the sides, and then just add a few of my scraps, or a few of my 2.5-inch squares. I'm not real sure right now, but I'm gonna do some thinking on it, and I'll come back in a bit and we'll see. Alright, I decided I'm going to go ahead and cut all of my strips from this fabric, and then for the sides I'll just add in a couple of 2.5-inch squares, or maybe a piece from the other fat quarters that I have. But yeah, I think that way it'll be slightly scrappy, but not too bad. So I finished the top, which you can see there on the right-hand side, but now I've laid the backing on top of the top just to get my measurements. Well, I know my measurements, but sometimes I like to kind of lay out the backing on the top just so that I can know that I'm going to sew a little bit extra off the sides and kind of know how it's going to match up and all that. So I've got my panel in the center here, and then I've just gone ahead and taken some of the scrap fabric. Well, it's not really scrap fabric. It was like a 5-yard cut of the little fishes. Let me bring you in a little bit closer on that fabric, the little fish fabric there. And so I took that 5-yard cut, and I've actually cut off enough for the top and the bottom. And then the piece on the left-hand side here is actually folded in half. So what I'm going to do is cut that in half to make the sides on both sides, and then I will have to do a little corner piece out of these two fabrics here. And I'll do that for both this side at the bottom and the other side at the top, or vice versa. I'm not sure which exactly. But basically I have to do some ironing, make some cuts. I'm going to sew on the bottom and top pieces, and then I'll bring you back and show you how I sew on the sides, because it's going to get a little bit creative, because there'll have to be a seam right in here that I'll have to not only sew on the side, but then I'll actually have to come down here and sew it across this strip as well. So I'll come back and show you that. And now is when I say, okay, how to quilt it. So I've probably said this before, I'm not a great quilter. You know, my little Janome domestic quilting sewing machine, well, it has a quilting feature to it, but a little domestic sewing machine. I'm just not fabulous at free motion quilting, and so I tend to do a lot of cross hatching and straight lines, and even those aren't necessarily always fabulous. So I'm trying to think how to get this done fairly quickly and inexpensively. I've got to turn it around for a gift fairly soon, so and also I still want it to look nice because I love the images on it. So okay, well, I think I am just going to stick with a crosshatch on the center panel. I'm hoping that it doesn't detract from the scene. I hope I pick the right thread and that it actually blends in well. So I think I crosshatch on the inner panel and the outer panels, and then for the bottom and top patchworks and the side patchworks, I'm thinking maybe just doing a straight meander line like through each of the blocks, horizontal on the bottom and top patches and vertical on the side patches. I don't know, I may cross that bridge when I come to it, but for right now I'm going to start getting a crosshatch marked out on the panels, or at least the center panel anyhow, because that's what I'll do first. Alright, wish me luck. And now we come to the nerve-wracking part of making decisions. So, I have 3 different colors of brown here. I'm thinking this one might be too light. It's gonna really blend in with the mustardy colors here, but it will really stand out on the brown, I believe. And I don't quite want it to stand out that much. So, next color, bit more of a brown. This one actually is probably going to be the happy medium that I'm looking for. So slightly standing out on the dark, and it's going to slightly stand out on the light of the letters, and probably a little bit on the lighter colors. Not real bad though. So that might be the one I go with. And then we have a very dark brown, which also, it's definitely going to stand out on the letters. It's definitely going to stand out in the lighter parts of the fabric. And it's not necessarily the same color brown. So it's kind of almost too dark. Although, yeah, it's darker than the brown. Oh, but boy, is this a nerve-wracking part. So I can eliminate this one. And so I'm down to 2 choices then. The lightish brown and the dark. And especially in the case of a quilt like this, where it's a panel and I want the panel to really stand out. It would be different if I were thinking maybe this one block might not necessarily blend well with the thread, but the rest of the quilt's going to be fine. No, it's a panel right in the center of the quilt. If it doesn't look like the right color, then it's a mess up. I don't know, and it's very different when you look at the color off of the roll and on the roll. On the roll, I would say this one But off the roll, let me see if I can scooch you in a little closer so you can see it a little better, how much it's gonna change the color. I don't know, it's almost a flip of a coin. For me, anyhow. Let me know in the comments if you would have picked the light or the brown. I don't know, I may flip a coin and come back. I think I'm probably leaning toward the dark one. That sounded a little bit like I was leaning toward the dark side. I'm leaning toward the dark color. Okay, I figured it out. Dark brown for the inside panel, the lighter brown for the outside smaller panels, and the more golden mustardy tone for the patchworks. That'll work. Okay, I don't think I can get the whole thing in there, but I'll try to pan and show you all of it. So it's not greatly quilted, definitely not greatly quilted, but I do love the panels. They are so pretty. My coloring in here is not great because it's a soft light, so it's going to be very yellow, but it's just a really pretty panel quilt. And it's always going to remind me of our trip to the Smoky Mountains. I thought it would be a nice anniversary present for Mom and Dad. So, all right, well, thank you for watching.